Hi, I'm James from Chaosium. I sat down with Jeff Richard and we talked about magic in RuneQuest. Specifically, we talked about magic from the perspective of somebody who was just coming into the system. What is rune magic and spirit magic and sorcery, and what's the difference between each of them? I'm going to jump across to that interview in just a moment. But first, remember to subscribe to the Chaosium YouTube channel. It helps us out and it lets us make more content like this. Thanks.
There's two types of magic that player characters typically use in RuneQuest. The first is spirit magic. And what spirit magic is these are spirit helpers. They do things like keep your sword edge sharp. They do things like ward off arrows and blows or heal minor wounds. They're the sort of things that, you have a collection of fetishes or tattoos or whatnot that lets you sing to your little helper spirits. It's incredibly useful magic. It's not the really powerful stuff, but everybody's got spirit magic. The more powerful stuff, and the reason the gods are so important, is what's called rune magic. And with rune magic, your player character wields some fraction of the god's magic. It is your character is, for a brief moment, the god or goddess manifest in the world. And this makes the magic in RuneQuest very different than what we've gotten used to with other tabletop role-playing games or video games. In RuneQuest, using that rune magic means that the mythology of the gods is ultimately the most real thing to your player character.
I'd like to dive into the mechanics of magic a little bit, but first of all, let's talk about how common magic is in the RuneQuest setting compared to something like Dungeons and Dragons, where you have, devoted wizards and schools of magic, or a game like, Warhammer Fantasy. How common is magic in the setting of Gloranthan?
Every adult in every Gloranthan society uses some magic. Magic is part of the universe. It's not something simply that is the province of specialists, although of course there are those. But this is a world where there are spirits, and every rock has its spirit, every field, every tree. People are regularly offering gifts to the spirits of the dead, and these things are all real in Glorantha. And on the bigger scale is that most adults are members of a cult. And what a cult is that these are groups of people that offer sacrifice and worship. And you have several layers or several levels of what that means. The most basic is a lay member. This is somebody who goes in, they offer they show up on the holy days, they offer a gift. They don't offer very much of themselves. They don't get very much back other than the reward of knowing that God likely favors them in some way. And then they get the support of the other members of that cult. And cult is a word that gets used a lot in RuneQuest. And it's the root of our word culture. And culture comes out of cult. It is a cult is that these are the rites and ceremonies and other actions associated with maintaining the favor of a god. So everybody in Glorantha is a lay member of something. It's hard not to be in a world where gods are real. The next level, and what most player characters are initiates. And these are folk that have gone through and participated in some of the secrets of that god or goddess, and they have given some portion of them of themselves, some portion of their soul, which in RuneQuest terms is denominated by the power characteristic. They've given some portion of that to the god. In exchange, they can wield some fraction of that god's power. And the third tier, I think tier is probably a better word than level. The third tier are the rune masters. And this is sometimes called a second initiation. And these are the initiates that have really proven their devotion to their deity, that they have achieved power and skills sufficient to have a deeper link and a more intimate link with their deity. And they wield a commensurately greater amount of the god's power. And the god typically sends them an allied spirit, which is some sort of a powerful spirit that is a servant or a follower of the god in the other world to aid the rune master. So a rune lord or a rune priest.
Would it be safe to say that rune magic and spirit magic have very different power levels?
So in general, a rune spell is 2 or 3 times as powerful as the equivalent sized spirit magic spell, sometimes more than that. So for example, a blade sharp, which is you're calling on your spirit helper to keep your sword sharp and make sure that it derives true against your foe. It increases your damage by 1 point per level of the spell, and it marginally increases your chance to hit. Meanwhile, there are rune spells that double the damage or triple the damage of your weapon, or do enough damage in a single spell to kill any normal human. So rune magic is just much bigger.
You've got your spirit magic, you've got your rune magic. What about sorcery?
Well, there's sorcery. The sorcery is a materialistic or humanistic approach to the magic of cosmos, the magic of Glorantha. So with spirit magic, you've befriended a spirit, and you get it to do things for you. And the little song, the happy little dance that keeps the berry spirit happy, and that lets you do a marginal healing spell. And rune magic, there you're wielding the part of the power of the god, and for an instant you are that god incarnated in the material world. Sorcery, that's an intellectual approach to the magic of it. The sorcerers study how the world fits together, and they learn how to manipulate the laws of the cosmos using their own will and whatever magic, whatever power they can put into that manipulation. It's not very common in the core areas of RuneQuest, and I think the only starting cult that even uses it at all is the God of Knowledge, Lankormai.